Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Shabbat. We're up to Perek Chav Gimel Mishnah Hey. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Aranbayev and Eliyahu ben Burcha Yisraelov Menuchatam Began Eden Amen. The Mishnah continues discussing laws that relate to a deceased person. It teaches how we are to handle a dead body on Shabbat. Osin kol tzorchei amet, we may attend to all the needs of the deceased on Shabbat. Sachin umedichin oto, we may anoint him with oil and rinse him with water. And the commentaries explain, what does it mean? We may anoint him with oil, with balsam oil, which is a pleasant fragrance to help conceal the bad odor. Ubilvad shelo yazizu bo ever, provided that we do not move any of his limbs, because a dead body is muktzeh, and moving even part of it is forbidden. Nevertheless, the Rab does say it's permitted to touch the corpse, because one may touch an object that is muktzeh as long as one does not move it, and touching a muktzeh object is forbidden only if it's round like an egg, in which case mere touching will make it move. And obviously the egg is the case of nolad, where it was laid on Shabbat. Shomtin letakar mitachtav umitilin oto al achol. We may pull the mattress out from under him, thereby laying him on the sand below. And the Rav explains, when one pulls out the mattress, one causes the corpse to end up on the sandy ground beneath the mattress without directly moving the corpse. One may not, however, pick up the corpse and place it on the ground, since as the Mishnah just stated, moving even a limb of a corpse is forbidden. And the Mishnah continues, Bishvil shiamtin, the reason that you pull the mattress from under him and lay him on, thereby laying him on the sand, is so that he will not decompose as a result of the warm mattress, but will remain moist. Koshrim et telechi, if his mouth is falling open, we may tie something around the jaw. For instance, the commentaries say we may wrap a string of cloth under the jaw and around the top of the head to hold the jaw in place. Lo shi'aleh ela shelo yosif, not so tightly that the jaw will rise and close the mouth, since it's forbidden to move any part of the body, but only so that the jaw will stay in place and not continue to drop. And the Mishnah continues now teaching a similar law about holding something in place on Shabbat. V'chen korash nishbera. Similarly, if a ceiling being broke, somchin otah b'savsal o ba'aruchot hamita, we may support it with the bench or the sideboards of a bed, meaning we may prop up the beam by placing a bench or bedboard underneath it. Lo ta'aleh ela shelo tusif, not so that it will rise, because putting the beam back in place would violate the melacha of building, but only so that it will stay in place and not continue to fall. And the Mishnah returns now to the matter of handling a dead body. En me'amitzin et hamet b'Shabbat, we may not close the eyes of the deceased on Shabbat, because it's forbidden to move any part of him, as taught above. V'lo b'chol mitziat hanefesh, and we may not close the eyes of a dying person even on a weekday, when his soul is close to departing, because at that point, even the slightest movement of his body will shorten his life. Someone who does close the eyes of a dying person when the soul is close to departing is a murderer. And the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, page 151b, compares a dying person to a flame that is flickering and about to go out. Just as placing a finger on the flame makes it go out immediately, so too touching a dying person can cause him to die immediately. And that is an Abotai of chapter 23, Mishnah Hey. We continue now with Perek Chavdal, Mishnah Aleph. Mi shich baderech, one who is on the road as dark approaches on Friday and realizes that he will not reach town before Shabbat begins. Noten kisol l'nochri, he may give his purse to a non-Jew to carry into town for him. Now, although one is generally prohibited by rabbinic law to instruct a non-Jew to perform Medachan Shabbat, in this case the rabbis were lenient. And the commentators explain the rabbis did not want to rule that such a person must simply abandon his money on the road, because they understood that many people would not obey such a law. Those people would instead carry their purse themselves, thereby transgressing a biblical prohibition. Now, if possible, he should hand the purse to a non-Jew before Shabbat begins, so that to avoid handling muktzah on Shabbat. However, if he is unable to do so, the rabbis allowed him to give it to the non-Jew even after Shabbat begins, as the Mishnah Berurah writes in chapter 266, Seif Katan 4. If there is no non-Jew with him, he may place the purse on his donkey to carry it for him. Now, ordinarily, using an animal to carry an item to the public domain on Shabbat is prohibited, because it's biblically forbidden to do a melachat to an animal. And the commentators explain a person who performs melachat on Shabbat via an animal violates a negative commandment. Lo ta'aseh chol melacha ata uvemtecha. Do not do any melacha, you, and the pasuk ends, and your animal, in Sefer Shemot chapter 20 pasuk 10. Therefore, it's forbidden on Shabbat to cause an animal that is carrying something to move either from a public to a private domain or vice versa, or for a mot within a public domain. This prohibition is known as mechamer, leading a loaded animal. Now, in this case, however, like we said, it is permitted as long as the traveler is careful to load and unload the animal while it's walking so as to avoid any biblical violation. Again, there is no non-Jew with them. And the commentaries explain the biblical melacha of carrying consists of three parts. Number one, akira, lifting up the object or putting it into motion. Number two, the actual carrying. And number three, hanacha, setting the object at rest in a different domain, or at least 4 amot away in the public domain, like we spoke about in the beginning of the Mishnayot, chapter 1, Mishnah 1. Now, therefore, the traveler must place his purse on the donkey after it has begun walking, so the donkey does not put the purse into motion, akira, rather the person does. Additionally, the traveler must remove his purse before the animal stops walking, so the donkey does not bring it to a rest, hanacha. And in this case, in this way, the akira and hanacha are done by the traveler, and the donkey does only the carrying. Therefore, the donkey does not perform the complete melacha of carrying. Nevertheless, if there is a non-Jew available, it's preferable to give the purse to him, because instructing a non-Jew to carry on Shabbat can never involve more than a rabbinic prohibition, whereas placing the purse upon a donkey could lead to a biblical prohibition if the owner mistakenly loaded and unloaded the animal in the usual manner, as the Ramban comments on page 153b in Masechet Shabbat. The Mishnah now discusses a new case in which someone reaches the city together with his loaded donkey just as Shabbat begins. When he reaches the outermost courtyard of the city, meaning the first area within the city where it's safe to unload his bags. Now, once he has reached a secure area, he can no longer make use of the leniency that we said and allow the donkey to carry his valuables any farther through the streets of the town because he reached a safe area. So the Mishnah says, he may take off any utensils that may normally be moved on Shabbat, meaning items that are not muktzeh. However, those utensils that may not be moved on Shabbat, because they are muktzeh, he may not remove by hand. Instead, he unties the ropes that attach them to the saddle, and the sacks fall down on their own. And that is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.